Well, thank you for joining us here on 5 Plus for this extended coverage of the manhunt for escaped prisoner Grant Harden. Now, this is day 4 of this search here in Arkansas.
And we're learning more details from investigators. They believe a corrections officer mistook him for a guard and let him walk out of the facility.
Yeah, they shared this surveillance image. Take a look. It was captured during that escape. Harden was disguised, they say, using a makeshift uniform to look like a corrections officer when he walked out of the prison near Calico Rock on Sunday afternoon. According to the Department of Corrections, all of their gear is accounted for.
Law enforcement agencies from across the state have been involved in the manhunt, working through the rainy and foggy conditions to locate Harden. Those efforts include checkpoints, searches with drones, as well as canine units.
Yeah, the search certainly intensifying this morning at Calico Rock, where Harden escaped there on Sunday. The town on high alert.
Yeah, let's go out live to Calico Rock, where Little Rock reporter Carter Thweet is live on the scene. Good morning, Carter.
Good morning to you guys. Yeah, the search efforts here have only grown, at least from what we've seen. We've been in Calico Rock since yesterday, so we've had our car and trunk checked multiple times at this point. But it seemed like even when we rolled back into town at 5 a.m. this morning, there were more law enforcement officers even manning these checkpoints. So while the search continues to grow in Calico Rock, it's mostly concentrated here in northern Arkansas. Law enforcement agencies from across the state are involved using checkpoints, like we said, as well as drone searches and canine units. And officials say the main challenges hampering those efforts is the rainy and foggy conditions this week, as well as the geography.
Terrain up here at Calico Rock is very, it's rocky, it's treacherous with all the rain, with everything. It's a very unforgiving landscape. And so it was hard to do a search last night.
And as far as what to expect going forward, I spoke recently with a spokesperson from the Department of Corrections, and they say they're going to continue to follow up on each and every lead. So if you know or see anything, you are encouraged to contact your local law enforcement, guys.
Hey, Carter, just a real quick, do you know the area that they're concentrating on, is it still pretty much in the Calico Rock area, or are they reaching out to investigators, say, in the Northwest Arkansas area to search there as well?
Yeah, great question. I haven't gotten an answer from the Department of Corrections, but based on what we've seen, it would seem like more of a Calico Rock concentrated thing right now. We spent the night in Mountain Home last night, so we were kind of driving through this area. That's a 30-40 minute drive or so, and we really didn't see many law enforcement officers along the way, except as you're going in or out of Calico Rock. And so obviously I haven't gotten a concrete answer on that, can't say for sure, but based on what we've seen, it does seem like more of a Calico Rock thing right now.
And Carter, you mentioned a few times this morning that they've searched y'all's car just being in the area. And so what does that search process look like for people who are driving through?
Yeah, it's not a whole lot generally, and now we've come through multiple times, so I think maybe they kind of start to recognize us and kind of know, although they still look. But generally what the search process looks like, they come up, they've actually made jokes a time or two, you guys have an inmate, but they'll look, they'll check the car, the trunk, they've got flashlights, at least they did early this morning when it was dark, and so they'll check those areas. It's been interesting. We've seen like 18-wheelers and semi-trucks come through, and they'll go to the back and they'll open it up and climb in there. So their searches are definitely thorough, but just checking the car, trunk, any areas that you might have, it's never taken more than a minute when we've been going in or out.
All right, great reporting. Thank you so much, Carter, there live from Calico Rock this morning. We sure appreciate that. All right, one of the first things everyone wants to know, basically, who is Grant Harden, right? Well, we've been researching his past, which is centered mostly in law enforcement. Many who know him, they say they consider him a bit unpredictable, extremely dangerous, right? Those are some strong words. He has ties to Northwest Arkansas, so police warned that if you see him, don't approach him, just call police.
Well, and one thing that law enforcement has been saying too, because he was in law enforcement, he knows how a lot of these things work, kind of the tactics that they use, how they search for those people that have escaped. And so because of that, they feel like maybe this is making it harder because he kind of knows all the ways that they do things.
Yeah,
right?
and we know that police have, a lot of work still ahead of them, researching some of the surveillance evidence, the video, all of those things. They checked him during checks. It was 15 minutes later when they went to go do another one, they said that he was gone. And we know that, you know, he made sort of a makeshift uniform. So how was he able to get out of the prison? Well, they say, you see the uniform right there in that photo, that one of the guards let him walk out. Maybe not like on purpose, like, hey, I'm helping you.
But thought he was maybe a new guard or something.
Right, exactly. So we're learning more, you know, every hour as this manhunt goes on. Now, Hardin has been convicted of charges of murder and rape.
Yeah, this is the reason why he is a prisoner at the North Central Unit, because of that murder charge. Now, he was sent there in 2017, convicted of first-degree murder to serve a 30-year sentence. Hardin pleaded guilty to shooting and killing 59-year-old James Appleton in 2017. He admitted to pulling his vehicle up alongside Appleton's and then shooting Appleton through the vehicle window. He said he never did say why exactly he did that, though.
Yeah, but serving time for that murder, a DNA profile link actually matched Hardin to a cold case rape of a teacher in Rogers. Police say that Hardin raped his victim. This was in 1997. Police said that the victim was in her classroom when it happened, twice at gunpoint. Now, while this was happening, there were 250 people in that building attending a church service in the school cafeteria. Hardin got 50 years for the crime, 25 for each time that he raped the victim. Police say Hardin did not know her. This was a stranger attacking another stranger. Now, these crimes of unpredictable nature has caused officials to stress just how violent that Hardin is.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's so interesting about this case is this is no longer just a case here in our area. This is something that has gotten national recognition over the last 24 hours. And so now you have people on the lookout all over the country.
Absolutely. And, you know, working with the FBI, law enforcement regionally in other states, there's BOLOs out. They're warning them so they know what to look for. One sheriff actually telling us that Hardin probably could be desperate, right? Especially given the recent weather conditions. They worry he could break into someone's home, steal a vehicle, and even get his hands on a weapon.
So given the escape, officers say that he could be looking at spending the rest of his life behind bars if he is captured. Police say that they personally reached out to Hardin's immediate family and the families of his victims to let them know of his escape.
Yeah, this morning, the sister of James Applegate, the man who was killed by Hardin in 2017, is speaking out.
5 News reporter Morgan Wrigley is joining us live in Benton County, where the family says this week's escape has left them pretty shaken. Good morning, Morgan.
Good morning, Tiffany and Joe. Well, 5 News spoke with Gateway Mayor Cheryl Tillman, who's also the sister of James Appleton, who Grant Hardin was convicted of killing back in 2017. And she says that this has really opened some wounds from that time 8 years ago. Now, Tillman says she got a call on Sunday night alerting her that Grant Hardin had broken out of prison. In 2017, as you mentioned earlier, Hardin drove up next to her brother James Appleton in his car on a rural road in Garfield, shot him through the car window and drove away. Tillman says this escape never should have happened and says she's going to feel unsettled until Hardin's back behind bars. She encourages her and urges her community to stay alert.
I just want all of the people in our community to stay vigilant. You know, wherever you're out, watch your backs. Just be careful of what you're doing. This man is evil.
Now, Tillman says that she's thankful for deputies here at the Benton County Sheriff's Office who have been keeping a close watch on her and her family while Hardin is still on the loose now. And as you mentioned, the motive for why he did both of these crimes he's never admitted to that. But she says one of the reasons why she feels unsettled, of course, her connection to James Appleton, but she also said that herself, her sister, and her husband all worked together. They were all on the council that actually fired him as the chief of police there in Gateway.
All right, thank you so much for that, Morgan. We sure appreciate that. Just a lot, like the connections, because we live in a lot of small towns around here in this area. So, of course, there's going to be connections like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? All right, thank you, Morgan. A quick note on staffing at North Central Unit, that prison where Hardin escaped from. According to officials, there are 3 openings in security there.
Yeah, officials say that unit tends to have the least amount of vacancies, and you wonder if maybe they thought that was someone new who had been hired when they saw that guard, which is why they didn't question it. And I mean, you think about putting yourself in that position, and if you see someone in a guard outfit that looks exactly like yours, you're probably not asking questions.
That's true, but at the same time, it's like when you have a job this important, when you're guarding
For
rapists
sure.
and murderers, you got to get it
Well,
right,
and you
right?
would think that you would know the face of your inmates, right?
Absolutely. Well, as for the search, State Police Department, they're not searching for Hardin on their own, right? We're told that several agencies assisting, including the Department of Corrections and a whole lot more.
Yeah, the U.S. Marshals, they're some of the ones who have been knocking on these doors, checking to see if he's in these houses, along with local sheriff's offices, police departments, even Game and Fish are out helping.
Yeah, and Carter, was talking about those road checks that are happening too, especially those going in and out of Izard County into some of those neighboring counties as well, like Stone County. Residents there in Calico Rock, I mean, they're reeling. Why wouldn't you be, right? The small fishing town is not used to such a large police presence.
Well, and I think that they've made that known the last few days, right? Residents that we've talked to here at 5 News saying, like, Memorial Day, typically a day of parades and people out and about celebrating and honoring those who gave the ultimate sacrifice in Calico Rock. They said it was a quiet day. People
Locking it
were
down.
staying inside, quiet, and not a typical day that they're used to when it comes to a holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. That entire area basically is, cornered down to make sure that he hasn't escaped through any of their cracks right now.
Yeah, authorities are continuing to comb the area while these locals are left grappling with how an escape like this could even happen. Rand Champion with the Arkansas Department of Corrections says that the sheer area and terrain makes it challenging for search efforts. Take a listen.
It can be tricky. There's a lot of hills, there's a lot of cliffs, you go down and you figure out, there's a lot of water, there's a lot of farms, there's a lot of woods.
But while the terrain is challenging, the Arkansas Department of Corrections are confident that they will be able to find Hardin and soon put him back in prison.
Yeah, something that law enforcement notes that Hardin has extensive training from his time as an officer in Huntsville and Eureka Springs. So a constable in Benton County, a correctional officer at the Northwest Arkansas Community Corrections Center, and he was a police chief in Gateway. Officials say this experience and all this training could actually make things a bit tricky for them as well. Not that they're not staying on top of it.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things, like we said earlier, he knows all the tips and tricks. And so because of that, they're having to really get creative with ways to locate him and to kind of trick him into being found, right?
Absolutely. Call 911 if you see this man. Take a look. Here's the final images, photographs shared by authorities. That photo on the left there is Hardin's latest prison mugshot. So officers are saying that this is what he would look like today. This is the most recent one. If you see him, it's pretty much going to be that on the left there.
Yeah, the photo on the right was from that surveillance footage that was taken during his escape. Now, if you think you see it, recognize the face. He is 6 feet tall, weighs around 260 pounds. So if you see someone that matches that description, again, call police. Do not approach him. He was wearing clothes designed to mimic law enforcement during that escape. You see it right there, but it is not official gear. And again, he should be considered armed and dangerous.
Yeah, we'll have the latest on Grant Hardin, and we'll post regular updates on our website. So make sure throughout the day that you're checking 5newsonline.com and on our app there. Follow us for all of this coverage as the search continues. They're going to be looking for Hardin. I mean, it's a nonstop investigation. It's a massive manhunt underway right now. So every hour, we're learning something new, updates coming in all the time.
Yeah, and this has become a nationwide thing. So when you have that many eyes on this situation, hopefully we'll get some answers here in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, police are saying that Grant Hardin, I mean, with his convictions, with all of the things that they know from interviewing family and friends, they believe this to be an extremely dangerous person who, wasn't going to be let out of prison anyway. Maybe he feels like he has nothing to lose. Extremely, extremely dangerous person.
Yeah, I feel like that's a situation we see with a lot of inmates who escape. It's usually they have those life sentences or ones that are pretty long because they feel like they have nothing to lose. And because of that, I don't think he'll be turning himself in anytime soon, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Hey, thank you so much for joining us here today for this special edition of the Arkansas Manhunt underway. Again, follow us at 5newsonline.com. Download the free 5 News app. Follow us throughout the day for those updates. We hope you have a great Wednesday.
We'll see you back here tomorrow.